Alright, so now that I've got this bike that was donated, we're going to start tuning it up. The first thing I'm going to do to it is overhaul the rear hub of the bike. So we're going to get that out of there and run you guys through the steps that I use when overhauling a hub. We'll start with disconnecting the rear brake and opening the quick release. Now you want to remove the quick release from the hub. Using the chain whip and the lock ring tool, we're going to remove the cassette from the hub. Once the lock ring is broken free, it should be easy to remove by hand. Now just go ahead and slide the cassette off of the freehub body. Now with some aluminum blocks or the Park Tools axle vise clamp, place the axle directly into the vise. With the 15 and 17 millimeter cone wrench, go ahead and break the lock nut free from the cone. Now unthread it all the way. Remove the washers. And unthread the cone nut. Be sure to inspect the cone. If there's any damage or pitting to it, replace it if possible. Place your hand underneath the hub so that you don't spill any bearings when removing the axle. Let's go ahead and remove all of the old bearings from the hub. There should be 9 bearings on each side of the hub. Let's go ahead and clean off all of the grease and debris and check for any pitting on the other cone as well. Using a rag to catch any overspray, spray some degreaser down into the hub shell. Now wipe all of the old dirt and grease out of there. Repeat on the other side. If you're having trouble getting down into the hub shell, wrap a spoke in a rag. Be sure not to scratch the inside of the hub shell while cleaning the inside of it. Now we'll prepare the old bearings by throwing them in the trash. I like to go ahead and pre-sort the bearings into 2 piles of 9. Clean off all of the extra debris and dirt off of the axle and cone. Make sure all of that grime is out of there because you don't want to contaminate the hub when you're putting it back together. Now we'll want to apply a liberal amount of grease to the bearing surfaces. Next we'll go ahead and reinstall the bearings. We're going to go ahead and put 9 on each side. Now that we have the bearings back in the hub, let's go ahead and thread the cone back on. Now that the cone is threaded on, we'll put the spacers back in the proper combination. Apply the lock nut. With the cone fully tightening the bearing, loosen it until you feel just a trace of play in the wheel. Then tighten it until that play goes away, and back the cone into the lock nut, securing it so it can't come free. When the bearing is properly adjusted, it will rotate free and smoothly. There will be a tiny trace of play at one point in the rotation of its axle, and when it's clamped into the quick release into the frame, all of that play will be taken up. Reinstall the rubber seal. Alright, now let's wipe off all the grease and grime and dirt so it looks like it's as clean on the outside as it does on the inside. Alright, well thanks for joining me today and watching me overhaul that hub. Hope some of these tips helped you and you'll be able to do it yourself if you need to. So come back for the next video. We're going to be cleaning up the cassette, reinstalling it on the bike, and maybe going ahead and overhauling the front hub.